The feds unraveled a visa fraud scam by setting up a fake university and using it as part of a massive sting operation. Now, 21 people were arrested Tuesday for allegedly conspiring with 1,000 or more than 1,000 foreigners to fraudulently maintain student visas and obtain worker visas. The college's website and Facebook page were taken down late afternoon. Now, the college, the fake college that was set up, was referred to as the University of Northern New Jersey. And it didn't have any professors, it didn't actually have any classes or curriculum, but the website looked legit. It offered all of these different programs, and it made it seem like they had student services, admissions, all the things that you would expect on any university's website. Now, when these so-called brokers who work with the foreign students would contact the so-called university, the feds were pretty clear, even though they were working as undercover agents, were pretty clear that this wasn't a real university. They basically told them, no, this is a front. There aren't actually any classes. And there was one broker, a Chinese broker, who straight up said, no, it's okay. We do this a lot.
Okay.
Which is a disaster. Okay. So the brokers recruited foreign students to enroll in allegedly created false student transcripts and diplomas so they could fool immigration authorities and keep their student visas. Most were from China and India and had previously entered the United States on legal student visas to attend a different legitimate school.
Okay, so this is good work by the Fed because I love international students coming to study here in the U.S., and there's a stunning number of them. I had no idea. 1.2 million foreigners are currently in the U.S. on legal student visas. So that's wonderful for a number of reasons. Keeping it real, if you're selfish about America, we usually get the best minds all across the world. They come here and a lot of them stay and wind up helping the economy and helping the country greatly, right? Mm-hmm. But if you care about the world too, a lot of them do wind up going back to their home countries and setting up businesses there, et cetera. Now, I'm I guess biased in this case because my dad came and studied here when he was a Turkish citizen. And he wound up going back to Turkey, setting up a business there, created a lot of jobs, helped the economy, and then came back to the U.S. And then me and my sister studied here and grew up here. So I love this program, but you've got to do things the right way. Mm-hmm. And if people are cheating and they're not actually going to school and they're breaking the law, well, of course there should be consequences for that. So they set up a trap here to catch the unethical brokers, bringing in the guys doing this. Great, it keeps the system honest. And then when you see a foreign student, you don't have to worry, oh, are they here legally, illegally, et cetera. Mm-hmm. Now you can just be like, that's awesome. Welcome.
Yeah, it's interesting because I never really thought about whether or not they're here legally or illegally, right? Mm-hmm. But it's interesting because, look, we have a huge problem with undocumented immigrants in the country, right? So around 11 million people are in the country illegally. And oftentimes the focus is on Mexican immigrants, right? Mm-hmm. But we have people immigrating here illegally from various countries, and there's never any focus on them. So it's kind of nice that the feds, for once, crack down on visa fraud because it is a big problem. You see it happening all the time. So they caught these brokers, and the brokers will face the consequences for it. The students are just going to be sent back to the countries that they came from.
Because they don't have a valid visa. That's exactly what happens if you don't have one. Some schools love bringing in foreign students, legitimate ones. Why? Because they pay full tuition.
Oh, totally.
Right. So the USC, they're like, oh, if you're a foreigner, you're going to pay 100% tuition? Come on. NYU, in this story, they tell you they have 13,800 foreign students. That's amazing. Mm-hmm. Most schools don't have 13,800 students, period.
Yeah. So obviously I'm obsessed with like education and higher ed. And there's this huge problem with state schools in particular that get their funding slashed by state lawmakers. And then they have to increase tuition for their in-state students, right? For all students. But what they do is they start filling in available seats at their universities with foreign students or out-of-state students because they pay a lot more. Mm. So there was a huge problem with that. I did that story a few years ago, so I kind of want to check back in and see what's going on now. But yeah, I mean, when you create a profit motive like that, of course the school's going to take advantage of it.
You see, actually, it's super easy to get into the country. And so that's why all the Trump and Cruz policies of keep the Syrian refugees out because we don't know where, if the terrorists can come in that way. Why would they bother coming in as refugees Right now, there's an 18-month waiting period while we check out every nook and cranny of your life if you're a refugee. Or you could just come in with a student visa and bomb the place. You see what I'm saying? So ISIS isn't going to bother sending in refugees. They're just going to do tricks like this. I mean, I don't want to give them any ideas, but it's obvious.
Well, I mean, when the New York Times was covering this, that was one thing that they mentioned. Like, luckily, they didn't find any, connections to ISIS with all these brokers and these foreign students. But they said that the way that this system works does pose a threat to national security.